Alrighty. Hey Will, I got your email with those test recoveries, so after this I'll double check those and put that in for you. I'll give you people like a couple minutes to get caught up, and then I'll start the session here. You're welcome. Also, I apologize if my live stream pauses with my wife working from home and I was trying to have her kid on daycare. We have just, our internet can't handle this right now. But it should be fine. All right, we got a couple of you guys in here. So today's goal is to go through our note packet. I'll show you guys on here our note packet. We're actually going to go through. We did this one yesterday. We did the other side. We're just going to do these two example problems here, and then if people are still here in the chat, I'll go through the homework problems as well. So I did find out yesterday that I can save these live sessions. I can post them to my story, but I can also save them onto my phone and then send them onto YouTube. So I will post those on Canvas as well, the YouTube recap of here. So if you have any questions, try to join the live session. But if you just want to watch later on in your own time, the YouTube videos will still be posted. Okay, so this is the exact same thing that we did yesterday, where we're trying to find the equation of a parabola, and we are also trying to find the important features, the vertex, the focus, and the directrix. So we have to solve these by completing the square to get them into standard form. So it's the same thing we did yesterday, just more problems. This is the tough stuff, so that's why we're spending 2 days on it. Okay, so I'm going to start with this first example problem, and we'll do like what we did yesterday. All right, so let me write it out here. All righty, so we got 0 equals negative y plus 2x squared minus 4x plus 6. Okay, so what we need to do is to isolate a variable, meaning get one of the letters by itself. If you look, we have an x being squared, so we want to move the other thing, the y, over to the other side. So we get the equation now, y equals 2x squared minus 4x plus 6. Now keep in mind, our whole goal, our final problem, we always want to get standard form equation. I'm just going to write it here, standard form. And then this is in our notes. But standard form is y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. And that's if we have y by itself. There's a slightly different formula if we have x by itself, but this is the problem we're looking at. Okay, so let's get this started. In order to get the standard form, we're going to have to complete the square. So what we're going to do here is we're going to kind of like divide and split it up a little bit. First thing we need to do is to factor out this 2 from these two terms here. So we would get y equals 2x squared and then minus. Now 4 divided by 2 is 2x. And then we need to do plus blank. This is the completing the square step that we need to do. Now left over, we still have our plus 6. And the other thing we have to add here is because we have a 2 times something added on, we're going to have to minus 2 times that same number in the blank. So the question might be, okay, what number goes in the blank? The number that goes in the blank is the middle number. So in this case, it's -2 divided by 2. So the middle number always divided by 2 and then squared. So -2 divided by 2 is -1. 1 squared is +1. So that number goes there. It also goes in over here. Okay. So that means this simplifies down to y equals 2, and then we get a term squared. And to get what's inside here, we take x, the square root of x squared is x. Keep the sign in the middle the same, minus. And then the square root of 1 is, well, 1. And then over here, what's left over, we just, okay, have +6, and then -2. 2 times 1 is 2. So our standard form equation is y equals 2x minus 1 squared plus 4. Okay. Now the important pieces of information all come from standard form. So I'm going to rewrite that equation there. It was y equals 2x, is it -1? Yeah. -1 squared plus 4. All come from that. And these formulas are on our note packet, and they're on the first page. So just going back over that, they're all right here. Here we got standard form with y equals, and we got where the vertex is, how to get the focus, and how to get the directrix. So the vertex, whoa, geez, almost lost you guys. Vertex, which in this equation is hk, is simply h is +1, it's going to match up here, and k is +4. There's the vertex. The focus is h, k plus 1 over 4a. So h is still 1, k is still 4, and we got 1 over 4 times a is 2. So we got 1 plus 4, or 1 comma 4 plus 1/8, and so that answer is 1 comma 4.125. And then we need to get the directrix, which maybe I'll turn this over here just to get it. The directrix is really similar to the focus. And the formula for that, it's in our sheet, is y equals k minus 1 over 4a. So going back at the focus, you can see k was 4, 1 over 4 times 2. So instead of adding an eighth, we're going to subtract the eighth, and so it's going to be y equals 3.875. All right. Why is it 1, not -1? Okay, good question, Riley. So if we look back at this formula, it is x minus h squared. So if our equation is x minus 1, the h stays the positive. Yep. Good, good. Yep, you're right, Will. Okay. All right, so I will go through, that's the first example from the notes. We'll start it over, do the next example from the notes. All right, and it's good that you guys are here on live. Tomorrow is the homework quiz, so I'll still pop on live, but I won't tell you guys like how to do it, the problems, but I will show you guys like, hey, check this one out, you know, this problem's like the first day assignment, or this problem's like, you know, yesterday and today, so you'll have these, and the YouTube videos will be up to help you guys out. Okay. Next problem, starting over. So this is the second problem in your notes, B, which is right down there. I'll write it out. We got the equation 0 equals x squared plus 6x plus 4y plus 5. 10 minutes in. Okay, so we look here. We have an x being squared, meaning we need to get this 4y by itself. And there's going to be a little bit of trick we have to do here. This is going to be fun. All right, so first thing we got to do is get the 4y over to the other side, and we get a negative 4y equals x squared plus 6x plus 5. Here where it becomes a little fun. Remember, our equation always has y by itself. So if we look back at here, it's always y by itself. Not a negative 4y, but a y. So we need to divide everything by negative 4. So I'm going to divide this by negative 4, that by negative 4, that by negative 4, that by negative 4. We can use decimals if we want, or we can use fractions. I'm going to use decimals, but then at the very end, if we have any, I'm going to convert those back into fractions just to answer correctly. So if I divide everything by negative 4, this becomes a y equals a negative 0.25 x squared, then a negative 1.5 x, and then a minus 1.25. Yippee. Okay, so we're going to do the same steps we did, it just numbers are a little bit scarier. We're going to factor out this from the first two terms, and we're going to kind of leave that alone. So we would get y equals negative 0.25 x squared, and then I'm going to have to get a calculator here. It's plus. What is 1.5 divided by 4? I believe that's 6, but I got my calculator here. Let's see, we got negative 1.5 divided by negative 0.25. It's a positive 6. So that's our middle number. X plus blank, and then minus 1.25, and then to get rid of the negative 0.25 here in the blank, we're going to have to add a 0.25 and that same blank. Oh, you can't see that. There you go. All right, so what number goes in that blank? That number that goes in the blank is the middle number divided by 2 squared. So I'm going to put it there and there. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 3 squared is 9. 9 and 9. Okay, so what that means is this is going to start to simplify to a negative 0.25. All right, remember this term here is going to be x. Square root of x squared is x. The middle sign is plus, so we'll put a plus in the middle here. And then the square root of 9 is 3, so it's x plus 3 in parentheses squared. Then we got minus 1.25, and then plus. All right, I got to do 9 times a quarter. 9 times a quarter. 9 times 0.25. Oh, that's divided by 9 times 0.25. 2.25. So now if we combine these like terms, we get y equals, let's reduce this fraction here. Negative 0.25 is negative 1/4. And then x plus 3 squared. And then over here, negative 1.25 plus 2.25 would be a positive 1. So we're going to go back to look at standard form to get the information. Standard form is y equals a x minus h squared plus k. And we just figured out it is y equals negative 1/4 x, God, I can't remember things, plus 3 squared plus 1. Yep, plus 1, yep. Okay. So let's start talking about our pieces. Our vertex, which by our formula in our formula chart is HK. H here is a plus 3, so our H is technically a negative 3, but our K still is a 1. The focus which is at hk plus 1 over 4a. I'll just put an a like that. All right, so that's going to be at negative 3, comma, k is 1 plus 1 over 4 times a is negative 1/4. All righty. So let's take out a calculator here, and you can actually type that whole thing in the calculator if you take your time, or if you want to. Let's just do this first part. So what is 1 divided by 4 times negative 1 divided by 4? Ends up being the whole thing is negative 1. So we end making this become negative 3, 1 minus 1, which is at negative 3, 0. So that one's so just working back through that one here. If I take 4 and times it by negative 1/4, I get a negative 1. 1 divided by negative 1 is a negative 1. And then we still have the 1 plus a negative 1, which is 0. The one thing that's kind of nice about that, doing that step there, the Directrix, which is at y equals k minus 1 over 4a. Well, it's just going to be the opposite of what we had here. So instead of it being 1 minus 1, it's going to be 1 plus 1. So the Directrix is y equals 2. Okay. So there's your notes. I'm about 16 minutes in. All right, you guys want me to go over the homework problem? Yeah, we got a couple of you guys still in here. Willie, Carmen, Riley, Avery. All righty. Let's do those homework problems. Okay. So we got 1/3. And just a reminder, I will post these on YouTube, and these will be on my Instagram story the whole time. So we got 2 sources to get this. We got y equals 1/3 x squared plus 2x plus 2. Okay, so if we look at this, I'm going to grab a drink of water here. We already got the y by itself. What we need to do now is factor out that 1/3 from those 2 things. So we get y equals 1/3, oh, nope, not yet, x squared plus, all right, so if I take 2 and divide it by 1/3, this is where we're going to be a little careful. 2 divided by 1 divided by 3, 1/3, is 6. 6x plus blank plus 2, and then we'll have to do the opposite here, minus 1/3 of that blank number. And we have to do that because if we're adding another number, we need to subtract it so they cancel each other out mathematically. Okay, so what goes in this blank? We take the middle number 6, divide it by 2, and square it, which is just what we did. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 3 squared is 9. So the equation is y equals 1/3. Still going to be x here. It's going to be plus in the middle, and then the square root of 9 is 3. Then on the other side we got plus 2, and then minus 1/3 of 9 is 3. So 2 minus 3. So we get y equals 1/3 x plus 3 squared, and then we get minus 1. So the one thing to watch out for, this is the first problem on today's quiz. It does leave it in standard form, so you're going to have to put a minus a negative 3 in there. And when you actually type out the 1/3, you actually have to type out 1 divided by 3. Let me actually double check that. Oh. Why do I have 1/4? Did I not change the equation? Oh, I better change my answers here. 1/3. Okay, let me change these right now. Nobody would get these right. Alright, B is a +3, or minus a -3. This is day 2, right? Continuous square 2. And alright, if you guys are taking the quiz while you're watching this, go back and refresh. I've just noticed that I had the wrong problem, well, a different problem's answers typed in, so I'm editing those as I speak. Okay, that means I gotta edit those ones. Right. Oh, this should be fun. Okay, here we go. Oh yeah, I remember now. I did change the problem. I just didn't want to copy. All right, so the vertex is at HK. If we got a +3 here, H is -3, and that stays the same, -1. So I'm going to edit that on my chart right here. A is -3, B is -1. All right, our focus, and this is where it's going to be fun, and I didn't want to do this, but if you're watching this, I'm going to tell you the answers right now. The focus is at HK plus 1/4A. H is -3. K is -1. A is 1/3. Excuse me. Talking too much. All right. So I got to type that into the calculator here. 1 divided by 4 times 1 divided by 3 in parentheses, and close that. We get 0.75. So the answer would be -3, -1 plus 0.75, which ends up being -3, -0.25, or -1/4, which I'm going to change that right now. So C is still -3, and D is -1/4. Or actually, I'm going to type multiple answers in. Okay. On Canvas, I need to do this. All right, now the Directrix. Remember, the Directrix is basically the opposite of this. So instead of being -1 plus 0.75, it's going to be y equals -1 minus 0.75, which is -1.75. So it still is negative, or still y, but then it is -1.75. Let's see, and that's -7/4. Fancy. Okay. All right. I updated those. Okay. Let's check the other one while we're here and doing Instagram Live. Okay. Hopefully you guys are doing all right. All right. So that was the first homework problem. Hopefully you follow along. If not, I'll post this on YouTube and you go back and watch it. Get the answers that way. All right. The second homework problem on the quiz is, okay, what if we have, geez, I hope this is right. X equals -2y squared minus 20y minus 37. Okay, this is an x equals problem, and the y is squared, so a little bit different from what we did, but we're still going to do kind of the same tricks. We're going to factor out this from those two terms. So we get x equals -2. All right, y squared. Now if I divide -20 by -2, it's a +10. Y that goes in the middle. We're going to have plus a blank. We have our minus 37, and then we got to do the opposite of here. So instead of negative 2, it's going to be a positive 2 times the blank. The number that's going to go in the blank is the middle number, 10 divided by 2 squared. All right, 10 divided by 2 is 5. 5 squared is 25. So putting those in the blank. Alrighty, so this is going to simplify down to x equals negative 2. Y squared, square rooted is just y. Middle term stays positive, and then 25, the square root of that is 5. And we got minus 37 plus 2 times 25 is 50. And so we get negative 2, y plus 5 squared, and then this becomes plus 13. So I'm going to just double check right now that those are the answers on Canvas. All right, A is negative 2. H is negative 5. All right, so remember that's going to say y minus. You'll have to make that a negative 5. And then C is 13, plus 13. Okay, perfect. All right, that question's good. Alrighty, then next, okay, we need to name the special locations. This is where it gets a little tricky. In standard form, if it's an x equals, it's not y minus h, it's y minus k plus h. So I'm going to write that again over here. So standard form is y equals a y, or x equals a y minus k squared plus h. It switches around when we switch the x and y's around. So our vertex, its equation is still hk. So its vertex is at h is 13, k is at negative 5. I'm just going to double check those. Make sure we're doing everything right here. I don't trust myself right now. Okay, those are the answers. Alrighty, I'm going to turn this on and try to squeeze it in down here. The focus, we have to look back at our chart. The focus for any x equals is right here. H plus 1 over 4a k. So this is going to be 13 plus 1 over 4 times negative 2, and then k is negative 5. So we'd get 13, and then this would be minus 1/8, negative 5. And so this would be 12.875, negative 5. Yep, and so that is the answer for that one. That one, okay, good. Just double checking these all. And then finally, the Directrix. If we look at the Directrix, the formula for that one is right here. X equals h minus 1 over 4a, which is just the opposite of what we had here. So instead of it being 13 plus 1, or minus 1/8, it's going to be 13 plus 1/8. So x equals 13.125. And there's the answer. All right, guys. So that was a long half-hour video there. And these are the tough sections. So I know we're kind of starting off tough here. After this, we do a quiz tomorrow, and then we'll start circles, which goes a lot slower. So these Instagram videos won't be as nearly as long. This is by far the worst part of the next 2 weeks. So tomorrow I'll be on Instagram Live again, but I'll just kind of be real short and tell you, okay, this problem is going to be this section. Here's a hint for it. This problem's from this section. Here's a hint for it. So I'll go through all 5 problems, give you hints, so you guys can do well on that one. Thanks for joining me, guys. I see a lot of you guys have stuck out the whole half hour. I appreciate that. You guys are doing great. Keep it up. If you guys have any questions, remember you can email me. But I'm going to end that unless I'll give you guys a couple minutes here to ask questions if you have any. But yeah, that's pretty much it, the lesson. I apologize the way this is set up. I literally just have a little phone stand and a whiteboard here. But we're doing the best we can. Also, if you were taking the Canvas quiz and you're following this, Unfortunately, I did have to, actually I'm going to save it right now. I have to update the quiz, so you might have to take the quiz and then retake it with those same answers just to make sure you're taking the newest version. Now, if you just started this quiz after, what time is it? 10:31 a.m. You should be fine. Okay, I don't see any questions, so